Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to some SCP reading, but with a twist it's just me this time around. So Phil had of course suggested to me that it might be worth me doing some episodes of this on my own, just so that way, you know, I can try and get through some more of these SCPs and other articles in my own time, and I was very much open to that idea because, you know, the thing is there's a lot of SCPs, there's freaking thousands of them, and the truth is, you know, if I'm just waiting for Phil and Connor to be available for a recording session every time, then it may very well end up being the case that it takes us bloody years to get through all of these articles. So doing a few on my own probably is one of the ways we can speed this thing up, basically. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm on the anomalous items page, as you can see. I'm thinking that if I'm going to do this on my own, I may sort of speed through some of the anomalous items reasonably quickly, or maybe only do about 10 of them, something like that, so that way we can really focus more in the episode on the SCPs themselves. And I may very well, I don't know, play around with the format if I'm doing this on my own, because the thing is, I've acknowledged this before in previous episodes, but people have suggested that it may well be worth me sometimes looking at the cross-links between SCP articles, even if that means technically I, say, jump ahead for a bit to, you know, an SCP that's way, way off down the line, which, why did that just flash then, like that? That was weird. Did that just show up on the footage then? When the screen momentarily flashed a weird colour? I don't know why that was. I must have accidentally highlighted, and then it immediately de-highlighted. Very strange. But yeah, I mean, I may play around with the format, we may see. I mean, for this one, I think I might just sort of... at the moment, I think I might just stick with the usual format, read a load in order. But if I do start to... follow cross-links to other SCP articles, what I'll probably need to do is maybe just make a note on a Word document somewhere of which SCP articles I've actually read, so that way, you know, when I have another recording session either on my own or with Phil and Connor, then we know basically where I'm up to and which articles I have looked at in my own time. Okay, anomalous item 141, a twin-size mattress. Subjects who fall asleep on the mattress will invariably have a dream in which they are forced to consume a live walrus using only a fork and a kitchen knife. Whether or not the subject succeeds in the dream appears to be inconsequential. This was recovered 14th of June 1983 from a furniture store somewhere in England. It's currently in storage. Well, that could potentially be a pretty bloody and potentially quite traumatic dream, that, couldn't it? If you're carving up a live walrus with a fork and a kitchen knife, does the walrus try and defend itself in the dream if you would try and do that to it? I would assume it probably does try to, so yeah, I mean, it says whether or not the subject succeeds appears to be inconsequential, so I assume that there are probably some people who've had dreams where they were not successful and the walrus maybe turned around and defended itself and bloodied them up, potentially. Anomalous item 142, a box of 24 blank brand pencils featuring 3 pencils in colours that don't exist in nature. Listed on the box and on each respective pencil as Moita, Emelet and Cancri. These pencils work as expected. No date, but it was recovered from a Manor Charitable Foundation establishment located in Blank, Canada. Current status in storage. Notes, probably mimetic or something. Gives me a migraine to look at them. Pretty though, said researcher Blank. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, that is a really simple concept, the idea of there being other colours, which we as humans can't perceive them, because the way our eyes have evolved means that we can only see certain bits of the colour spectrum. I mean, haven't there been sometimes stories that have come out in recent years about scientists who've tried to see if they can create colours that the human eye can't perceive, and which therefore you can only really see using technology or something? I feel like I've read a story like that before about somebody who claimed they'd been able to do it. I mean, I don't know whether it was true or not, and I could be misremembering entirely. My memory could just be very, very faulty, who knows. Item number 143, a 1-to-1 replica of a .338 caliber Accuracy International AWM sniper rifle, complete with bipod, telescopic sight, magazine and internal mechanisms, constructed out of various unusually durable edible substances, a significant portion of which is chocolate cake. Despite its composition, item is fully functional as a firearm, capable of chambering and firing a .338 Lapua Magnum cartridges even. It was located 16th of July 2000 from Sandford, Somerset in England. That's specific. That's actually probably one of the few anomalous items we've seen so far where an exact town has been listed. Wait, no, hang on a minute. Sandford. Is there a Sandford in Somerset? No. Because suddenly I just thought of Hot Fuzz, you know, the movie, the film, which is set in a town in Gloucestershire called Sandford, but Sandford's not real. Isn't Sandford a term used by UK police forces as like a generic place name for use in training exercises? Hang on, let's see. Sandford, Somerset. Oh, is there? Oh, there is a Sandford in Somerset. It's a village between Churchill and Banwell. Okay, never mind what I'm saying. It is actually a real place. Well, I learned something new today, ladies and gentlemen. As I was about to also say, was someone watching? What was that? What was it? Is it like a Japanese TV show where they have lots of random objects and some of them made out of cake, and you have to guess which one's made out of cake? Was someone watching that when they made this anomalous item? Feels like maybe they were. Alright, next one. Anomalous item description. A running car made entirely out of paper scraps. No motor has been found. No data recovery, but it was recovered from somewhere in Texas. Kept in a garage with various other non-dangerous cars and such in sight blank. Okay, so it's a car, it functions, but it shouldn't do because there's no motor and it's made entirely out of paper scraps, so bizarre. Next one, the exact phrase blank. When used as a username on any website, accounts by this name cannot be banned or deleted, and content uploaded or posted by them cannot be removed due to computer errors that spontaneously occur during attempts. Recovered sometime in 2007. Location recovery NA. First instance identified on social media website Reddit. Current status, the operators of the blank known accounts by this username have been located and amnesticized to prevent usage of these accounts. The username has been registered by the Foundation on as many other websites as possible. So, are they sure this is anomalous? They're sure this is not just a bunch of Reddit mods who are going crazy with power and have the ability to prevent any of their accounts or posts from being banned? You know, come on, Foundation, have you considered this at all? Maybe. What a weird one. Next one, a standard coin counting jar with no identifiers of its manufacturers. The jar runs on one AAA battery and works as expected, correctly counting the amount of coins placed within. However, all coins placed inside will become pennies of equal amount, e.g. a dime placed inside will become 10 pennies. Outwardly, the jar appears full of pennies. If the lid is removed, the coins can be removed as normal, though they still appear as pennies within the jar. Date of recovery, 11th of November 2011. That's interesting, all 11s, from a Walgreens store somewhere in Florida. Current status on the desk of Dr. Blank. Okay, interesting. So, it just basically makes all the pennies, well, makes all the coins placed in it look like pennies. I see. I mean, pretty weird. Not much else to really say about that one, I guess. Next one, a stack of 364 pieces of personalised stationery. Messages for Bertrand Bartleby is inscribed at the top of each. When folded in half, stationery will inscribe itself with a name, physical description and a chronological record of actions taken by anyone in proximity to the folded paper, using terminology and slang common to turn-of-the-century London. Date of recovery, 15th of February 2015, from 412 Missionary Street, London, England. Again, another one with an actual specific location, also in this case actually very specifically an actual address. Is Missionary Street real? Hang on, let's see. If we go to, oh god, Google Maps, I don't know, it may not be real, but you never know. Missionary Street, London. Let's have a look at this. Missionary Street, London? No, there isn't. It's not finding it. Yeah, there is no Missionary Street in London. Okay, no. That is basically made up then. Current status missing. Notes on 20th of June 2015, all but one piece of the acquired stationery reported missing from storage. The remaining piece had been folded in half and left in the empty locker, and there is a drop-down thing. Contents of the remaining folded paper. 15 minutes after third bell, evening. Bertrand Bartleby enters, pale, stout and doughy as a Yorkshire dumpling, dress of fine quality, posture of a well-bred and educated gentleman. 16 minutes after third bell, evening. I feel like I should do a Victorian, well, a posh Victorian voice, who knows. Bertrand Bartleby recovers all but one of me. He expresses polite amusement at my recovery. I am folded in half. 17 minutes after third bell, evening. Bertrand Bartleby requests that I begin recording retroactively from the moment he arrived. Additions are made. 18 minutes after third bell, evening. Bertrand Bartleby exits. 22 minutes after seventh bell, morning. Quartermaster Victor Louis enters, tall, athletic, with a distinct mix of European French and African Negro, dress and posture of unsightly quality. 23 minutes after seventh bell, morning. Victor Louis recognises that the rest of me is missing. He emits vocalised expressions of vulgarity, suggesting surprise and or anger typical of lesser upbringing. He approaches with intent to open me. Interesting. So, right. It was interesting that it said, you know, after such and such a bell, which I find curious, because, and then it has Quartermaster Victor Louis. So was Bertrand Bartleby on a ship? Something like that? Some kind of ocean liner? I don't know, it's just like, because you know with old ships, they would often sound the bell every hour to let everyone know what time it was, and they would always describe it as, you know, so-and-so on the ship, sound 3 bells, or something like that, you know? If you ever watch, basically, films set on old ships from, like, you know, pre-turn of the century, going back to, like, the 18th century, for instance, you'll probably see that. Okay, interesting. So something weird has clearly happened, I'm guessing to Bertrand Bartleby, or something like that. Weird. So, maybe Bertrand Bartleby disappeared off the ship, or was murdered or something, potentially. So did Victor Louis notice that the stationery was keeping a record of everything that Bertrand Bartleby had been doing? Is Victor Louis responsible for Bertrand Bartleby's disappearance, and had noticed the stationery was keeping a record of what Bertrand Bartleby was doing, and therefore when a load of it went missing, he, that's why he was basically expressing vulgarity, surprise and anger. Interesting. I mean, I feel like I'm theorising off of what is not a lot of detail there, but I feel like that's possibly what it's getting at there. Some kind of murder mystery, who knows. Next one. A blank brand mountain bike that, while mounted, experiences a headwind of random speeds from blank meters a second to blank meters a second, even in enclosed buildings. Recovered sometime in 2014 from Denmark. Current status: research ongoing for possible wind power generation. You know what? That's actually a really good idea. You have a bike that, as long as someone sits on it, it generates wind. Yeah, you could actually set that up with like a wind tunnel or something. And it doesn't say you actually have to pedal it, it just says you have to sit, well, it has to be mounted, so presumably you just have to sit on it. And, you know, you set that up in a wind tunnel or something connected to a turbine. Yeah, you could actually have infinite wind power there. Here's the Foundation trying to solve, you know, green energy and all that. Very impressive. Next one, a blank brand digital camera. When a photograph is taken, resulting photograph reveals scene of a photo approximately 4.5 seconds before the exposure took place. Videos taken that are under 4.5 seconds in length are also affected. Data recovery, 10th of April 2000 something. Location recovery, D something photography at blank, Germany. Current status in Dr. B blank's office. So basically it's a camera with a weird delay, kind of. Well, not a delay, that's not the right word, but you know what I mean. Basically you take a photograph and what it actually takes the photograph off is something that was 4.5 seconds before the photo was taken, and it also affected video as well. Well, okay, curious. That would be certainly very odd if you were taking a picture of yourself and your friends, and what you actually got there was a picture of yourselves assembling 4.5 seconds before the picture was taken. But okay. Alright, we'll make this the last anomalous item for this video. So, a controller for the blank console that causes anyone holding it to write/type in LEET. A language, I guess. Yeah, 1337, that's LEET speech, isn't it? A language that replaces most alphabet letters with alternate ASCII 2 numbers and symbols. Data recovery 15th of April 2000 something from Illinois, USA. Currently in Dr. Albay's personal locker. Okay, weird. So, yeah, it just makes you write in LEET speech. Curious. You know, LEET speech, do people still use that? Do people still write in that sometimes these days? It feels like LEET speech was very much something of the 2000s, because I can remember it from when I was younger, a whole lot younger. But I don't know. Do people still do people still writing that. I mean, I know sometimes you get people leaving comments on YouTube videos written in ASCII 2 where they practically make a sort of fucking work of art with ASCII 2 in the comment section. It's ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, well, that's what that is. Okay, so yeah, we'll just stick to the 10 anomalous items of this video, because let's actually get to the SCPs themselves, ladies and gentlemen, the thing that we're really here for. So last time, of course, I was with Phil, wasn't I? And we did up to SCP-036, so we're going to go with SCP-037, Dwarf Star. So this is a Euclid one. Special Containment Procedure, SCP-037 is magnetically contained in a subterranean complex known as Site-22. I think we've heard that site name before, haven't we? Many times. Object size, spectral signature and temperature are constantly monitored both on-site and remotely from Site-98. The primary containment chamber is lined with heat-conducting, radiation-resistant nano-peak GFV polymer tiles and evacuated of any atmosphere. Okay, so it's basically a vacuum. Heat from the object is radiated into the surrounding rock. Should enclosure integrity become compromised, the emergency system will generate a low-power argon plasma shield. This is projected to provide a minimum of 4 hours for on-site engineers to effect necessary repairs before the object breaches containment. In the contingency that stellar evolution proceeds ahead of projections and a nova event appears imminent, or if containment failure is otherwise unavoidable, any remaining project staff are authorised to initiate the Pituak protocol. Okay, so this is basically quite literally a star contained on Earth, something like that. It appears to be. Description: SCP-037 appears to be a star approximately 5 centimeters or 2 inches in diameter, with a luminosity of about 1 times 10 to the power of minus 12. I probably butchered that. Times that of our Sun, and a surface temperature of about 5000 K, determined by UBVRI analysis. The origin of SCP-037 is unknown. However, analysis suggests that it shares many properties in common with a typical main sequence star, other than its anomalously small size. It is theorized to have entered the Earth's magnetosphere via the North Magnetic Pole. The object was discovered in 19 blank above the Beaufort Sea, at approximately the North Magnetic Pole. Intense electromagnetic interference was reported by Canadian Forces Station, CFS Alert, followed by an extremely bright object descending toward the ocean from the sky. The SCPS Guardian responded and discovered the object wavering in an erratic trajectory about 200 metres above the surface of the water. Once containment procedures were devised, it was transported to Site-32 for study. Containment and transport of 037 have been achieved by the use of powerful electromagnets, to which the artefact aligns itself according to its own magnetic field. The primary challenge to containment thus far has been its powerful electromagnetic emissions, which are intense enough to be easily seen by the naked eye from high Earth orbit. Its current enclosure is located deep underground to prevent detection and to facilitate radiative cooling into the surrounding bedrock. In effect, the entire facility and the surrounding volume of the Earth's crust act as a massive heat sink. Addendum A. Over the past blank years of study, the star has undergone a shift in emitted EM radiation, suggesting that it is undergoing stellar evolution at a vastly accelerated rate. If standard stellar models hold up, this will soon result in an increase in radius by a factor of 100 to 300 times, and a concomitant increase in radiated energy. Emergency containment contingencies are being studied for that eventuality. Further progression of the star's life cycle will likely terminate in a stellar nova, which is estimated to have a yield of blank. Extrapolations predict this to occur in blank. Research is underway for a method to arrest this development, or to transport 037 a safe distance from the planet before it occurs. Yeah, that is concerning, because, I mean, I'm not, I'm not too knowledgeable on the science behind life cycles of stars, but I know that, obviously, as they get older and older, as they go through development, they can eventually reach a point where they start to expand. Because it's like, do they not sort of reach a point in their life cycle where they start to consume lots of hydrogen, and some of them become, supergiant stars, other ones consume all their hydrogen, some basically turn into supernovas, and then of course some, I think, can eventually turn into black holes. Now of course if this is going through a rapid life cycle, or at least a accelerated life cycle, then yeah, that creates a bit of a problem, because that could cause huge problems for the Foundation in the distant future, couldn't it? Or potentially even the not too distant future. Okay, so what's the Pituak protocol? What's the current plan? Sent August 5th, Oh god, I accidentally clicked it again. August 5th, 1977 to 05 Council from Dr. Innes. Subject 037 Emergency Neutralization Research Body. Sirs and Madams, the agents embedded with the US Department of Defense have managed to alter the project requirement for the NASA Orbiter program. The vehicle will now be designed with enough space to accommodate 037 and and a temporary containment apparatus in order to facilitate transport off-planet. However, I continue to have reservations. Modern rocket technology simply is not reliable enough for the needs of this project. A single mistake could lead to launch failure and subsequent loss of containment, possibly catastrophically. Even a successful launch would have to proceed perfectly, lest the result be visible to observatories and instruments and possibly the naked eye around the world. There are numerous artefacts contained by the Foundation which might allow us to transport 037 safely and cost-effectively to an adjacent dimension, universe or esoteric domain. SCP Blank in particular might prove especially convenient for this purpose, considering the outcomes of recent attempts to explore it, and the difficulty of neutralization of 037 might thus serve the added purpose of reducing or removing the threat posed by that anomaly as well. I implore you to reconsider the Pituak proposal, submitted in light of these concerns. End message. Interesting. So the current plan seems to be put it on a rocket and just fire it off into space, and hope that you can get it far enough from the planet to not affect Earth. But of course that's limited. We will probably come to other SCPs in due course in this series, ones where there are other... actually we have technically already encountered one or two that have other sort of dimensions or planes of existence to them. So I guess, the alternative would be just put it in another fucking anomaly and hope that that contains it, if it goes supernova and all that. Weird. Okay, that's an interesting one to start us off. So, I guess, I was going to say, this one doesn't seem like it's sentient or anything. It is just literally a star that is anomalously small, but is accelerating in its life cycle. But I guess that's why it's counted as an anomaly. It counted as an SCP and not just as an anomalous item, because of course it represents a massive danger, and it's not actively seeking to harm humanity, but it will harm humanity if they don't find a way to sort it out. Okay, well that was the Dwarf Star, ladies and gentlemen. Next one, SCP-038, the Everything Tree. This one's safe. 038 is to be watered twice per day via overhead mister. Should the mister break for any reason, attendants should water SCP-038 by hand until it has been fixed. Lighting is provided by computer-controlled lighting array. Attendants watering 038 by hand and maintenance personnel fixing the mister or lighting should wear hazmat suits to prevent accidental cloning. Okay, so that seems like a pretty straightforward containment procedure. What's the description? 038 was found on an abandoned farm in Blank, New York in 19 blank. It was at first thought to be a common apple tree. However, upon closer inspection, it became apparent that SCP-038 was growing things other than apples, and in fact, other than fruit. 038 has the ability to clone any object that touches its bark. Objects begin growing almost instantaneously, and reach maturity within a matter of minutes. A weight limit of 90.9 kilograms, 200 pounds per object, has been previously recorded. Objects that 038 has thus far cloned include apples, oranges, watermelons, eggplants, candy bars, snack food, see Addendum 1, televisions, toasters, laptops, keys, see Addendum 2, chairs, wine, DVDs, CDs, see Addendum 3, cats, dogs, and people. Human and animal cloning through 038 is not recommended as they appear to age quickly. The majority of these clones live on average 2 weeks. After thorough examination of the deceased clones, it has been determined that they have begun to ferment before death. Object is currently held on Site-23 and there are currently no plans to move it. Okay, that's weird. The fermenting thing obviously happens with, all sorts of fruit that grows on trees, if it's just left up there for, long-ass periods of time. But apparently that happens to anything that basically grows off this tree. Addendum 1, Dr. Klein, as he comes across from the Half-Life universe, has requested that personnel discontinue the cloning of items from the vending machine. See document 338-1. Addendum 2. Dr. Klein has requested that personnel discontinue the cloning of personal items. See document 338-1. Addendum 3. Dr. Klein has requested that personnel discontinue the cloning of movies and music. See document 338-1. Basically, Dr. Klein is spoiling everyone's fun. Addendum 4. Dr. Klein has requested that personnel discontinue the cloning of cans of Miller, Budweiser and Foster's. Dr. Klein has furthermore expressed customary disapproval of the quality of such cloned items. See document 338-1B. So, document 338-1, I'd like to remind all personnel that SCP-038 is not, I repeat, not a toy. It should not be used for cloning car keys, movies, music or items from the vending machines. If this behaviour continues, I'll be forced to limit access to 038. Document 3382, it's been noted that 038 is able to clone SCP-500. However, such pills only work 30% of the time, with chance of successful healing dropping as time since cloned increases. In 60% of the cases where the infection is permanent, symptoms of infection remain, though further infection is neutralised. Okay, so obviously we have a link there, a cross-link to another SCP article. I don't think in this one I will follow cross-links, but maybe in the future, who knows. SCP-038 partial testing log, select experiments only. For full test records and reports, contact affiliated researchers for authorization. Date 8th of November something. Intent, confirmation of mass limit, investigation into consequences of exceeding limit. Summary of test results, 400 pounds steel ingot made contact with the outer bark of 038. Chamber vacated as a precaution. Cloned ingot grew at typical speed, but growth halted abruptly short of completion. Examination of the end of the aborted facsimile revealed a rough texture superficially resembling miniature scale tree bark. Item detached from 038 as typical and was subsequently found to weigh 90.91 kilograms or almost precisely 200 pounds. Date, same date actually. Intent, investigation into duplication of non-biological animate matter. Summary of test results. SCP-173 deemed a suitable test subject because of its lack of verifiable... Really? You wanted to clone 173? Sorry, you wanted to clone 173? That doesn't seem like a good decision. That doesn't seem like a suitable test subject, just saying. Because I already know what 173 is. I played SCP Containment Breach back in the day. Deemed a suitable test subject because of its lack of verifiable life processes, introduced in containment chamber by Class D personnel. Contact made with the outer bark of 038, and 173 returned immediately to containment. 173 facsimile began development at typical speed, beginning at point of contact. As consistent with previous results, growth halted at the 200 pound threshold, in this case terminating development after replication of the head, right arm and partial upper torso. Class D test subject was ordered to break eye contact with the clone. When test subject eventually blinked, no movement was observed in clone material. Extinguishing and re-establishment of containment chamber light supply revealed no apparent reaction from clone material. Experiment concluded. During storage of cloned portion of 173, it was observed that the partial facsimile was in fact making violent gestures at a dramatically slower rate. Movement was shown to continue regardless of state of observation. Ah, okay. So it created a partial clone of 173 that doesn't move necessarily, or isn't really able to move much when you break eye contact. So it basically made sort of like a partial 173 that is not as much of a threat and can only make violent gestures. Huh. How curious. Okay, well that was that one. That was the tree. So yeah, I guess someone just had the idea for something that you can use to clone objects, but it's a bit weird and those objects age very quickly. I mean, it's pretty straightforward-ish, I imagine. See, I'm part of wondering, should I cross-link over to 500? I'm not going to this recording session because later today, same day as I'm going to record, I am actually hoping to have a recording session with Phil and Connor, and we might do some more SCP, so I might just hold off on doing cross-links for the moment, ladies and gents. Okay, so that was the everything tree. Next one, SCP-039, is the monkey brain. Let's have a look at this one. Special containment procedures. Oh, it's Euclid. That's interesting. It's got a whole graphic up here. Disruption class VLAM, risk class caution. Okay, level 2 restricted. Special containment procedures. Living 039 instances are to be contained in Site-77's Wilderness Observation Chamber 2B. The interior and exterior of WOC-2B must be monitored by 2 security guards at all times. WOC-2 is to be inspected weekly for sabotage and contraband. That's actually interesting that that's a link, apparently. Secure Facility Dossier Site. Looks like an incident report at Site-77. Is it worth me actually looking at the cross-link here for Site-77? Possibly. Deceased instances are in refrigerated storage and may be accessed for study upon request. SCP-039-A is data expunged. How big is the SCP Secure Facility Dossier Site-77? Oh, it's quite a big one, actually. I mean, we could quickly fly through this if we wanted to. SCP Foundation Secure Facility Dossier, official designation, SCP Foundation Southern Europe Mass Containment Facility, Site Identification Code, EUITLA, EU Italy probably, Site-77, so it's in Italy, I'm guessing. Founded 25th of July 1943 by Dr. Shirley Gillespie, who was the founding director. Location, province of L'Aquila, Southern Italy, European Union. Cover story: South Carter Mining and Parts Trade Company. Site function: mass containment, research, task force deployment and administrative. Size: surface area of 5.69 kilometers squared. Partial list of anomalies currently under the jurisdiction of Site-77. There's quite a lot of them. Facilities and wings: it has living facilities. Each person on the site has their own room containing a bed, a desk, a bedside table, cabinets and a poster reading "Mankind must not go back to living in fear." Office facilities: the site contains a large number of offices spread out generally throughout the site. The largest cluster of these is near to the main entrance hall of the site. The offices tend to be relatively plain, though some personnel do put their own personal spin on things. The equipment offices among these, consisting of a large warehouse like I should just say large warehouse-like rooms, not a large warehouse-like rooms, at the bottom of a very long set of stairs. The common rooms: there are many common rooms split among the site's departments, equipped with several sofas and armchairs arranged around an entertainment centre. Agents are encouraged to spend as much time in the commons as they wish, although sleeping is discouraged. Let me just have a sip of tea. The Grand Mess Hall. The only mess hall on site, the Grand Mess Hall provides for all staff. A large room with rows of tables and stools. The food it provides is free, inoffensive and filling. Options for all dietary preferences are provided for. Medical wing, surgical and recuperative facilities. Nurses and doctors are considerably more interested in your health and your happiness. Rumoured to have been augmented through the Director's private research. Security facilities: Site-77 and the surrounding grounds are patrolled by agents from Mobile Task Force Sci-7. The site is littered with checkpoints and defensive infrastructure, both inside and outside the base. The gym: it's large and well outfitted with various weights, bags and machines for the cultivation of a healthy state of being. The most notable feature is the full-size boxing ring, where agents can punch and kick each other to their heart's content. People tend to stick humorous notes on the punching bags representing things they'd very much like to hit. Range: an indoor shooting range. Although only inert projectiles are permitted to be used, there is a wide selection of such weapons available for use, along with the appropriate safety equipment. There are facilities allowing weapons to be shot by those who would not be permitted to take a weapon with them around the site. Observatory: a telescope placed in a small observation chamber at the top of Site-77, used for observation of potential astronomical-based anomalies. Laboratories and research wing: the site's laboratories are centralised, primarily in the southern wing of the underground portion of the site, directly attached to the computer science and metal construction wings. The research portion of Site-77 is particularly known for their innovations in info-hazard research. I like how I'm taking this massive digression now from SCP-039, but we'll get back to it in a moment, don't you worry. Sorry, just not my microphone then. Computer science wing. Modern supercomputers sit back to back with a bunch of reel-to-reel, line-in-the-walls, UNIVAC-type computers. Enigmagraphs, machines capable of making documents illegible to anyone other than the intended recipient, can be found here, as well as a number of powerful non-anomalous computers and powerful computer accessories. Computer labs for official and personal usage can be found here, as well as those used for advanced calculations and legacy projects. Computers compatible with almost every standard imaginable can be found here. Metal shop and construction, where the vehicle pool gets their automobiles repaired, as well as any other mechanical issue the site might be having. Has the tools you'd expect from a place that builds cars, computers, war, anything else the Foundation might need. Also houses the garage for the motor pool. Church. The site has a large non-denominational church built into the side of the mountain, with an entrance from both the underground portion of the site and from outside. It is a relatively simple affair with no real extravagance to it. There are on staff Jewish, Protestant and Catholic chaplains. The rabbi gets the chapel on the Saturdays, while Sunday evening is split between the minister and the priest. The rest of the time, they alternate their sermons and sacraments. The church is deceptively holy. Although it is a modern construction, it has been sanctified by several high-ranking priests, particularly from the nearby Vatican. Time will tell if this will have any noticeable effect. Interesting. I wonder if something's contained there that has a religious aspect to it. Barracks. Site-77 serves as the primary headquarters of Mobile Task Force Sci-7, Home Improvement. In addition, members of Sci-7 serve as Site-77's primary security force, with internal security being overseen by Security Director Anderson. Containment Wing, section of Site-77, primarily used for containment of safe and Euclid-level anomalies. Primarily underground, these facilities have been reinforced to protect from earthquakes and have some of the Foundation's most up-to-date anomalous countermeasures. Containment vaults, located beneath the facility, lockers and chambers with low-level anomalous objects and records. Mass storage of marginally anomalous objects primarily takes place within Site-77, and they have the highest number of E-class objects of any Foundation facility. Director's Complex. The Director's Complex is large, you are not allowed in it. These are the only facts you need to know. Okay. Oh, sorry, my nose is a bit runny today. Just gotta, friggin' wipe it. Staffing information. Site Director Dr. Shirley Gillespie. There's a picture of her at centre in there. Deputy Site Director Dr. Ralph Roger. Interesting. Dr. Roger's file. He actually has a file of his own, apparently, on this site. Roger is watching you. Oh, lovely. Well, you know what? I'm not going to go across there, otherwise I'm going to go down a bit of a rabbit hole. I need to get back to 039. Assistant Director of Personnel, Wade Quincy. Assistant Director of Facilities, John Skelton. Assistant Director of Research, Dr. Peter Gertart. Assistant Director of Containment, Jamie Regal. Assistant Director of Medicine, Calais Amity Vale. Assistant Director of Security, Theodore Anderson. Assistant Director of Human Resources, Mary Guild. On-site Psychologist, Dr. Roth, who also has a file apparently. On-site personnel, department heads 9, staff doctors 180, staff researchers 1094, administrative personnel 390, maintenance or janitorial 888, security personnel 2220, D-class 22, other personnel 11. Okay, notable containment incidents. Oh gosh, right. So, well, there's not that many of them. SCP 1591, prior to Site-77's establishment as a Foundation facility, Allied forces had taken control of the surface buildings to use as a base. An airstrike by Axis forces severely damaged many buildings, including one containing 1591, which was being studied by Allied scientists. This massively magnified the intensity of 1591's effect. The remainder of the surface facilities were destroyed, and approximately 40 Foundation personnel were lost. In addition, all surviving agents and researchers were trapped in the underground portions of the facility, unable to return to the surface even. After alerting O5 Command to the situation, local gendarmes were enlisted to prevent individuals from reaching the breach-affected zone. Floodlights were shipped by rail from air bases in the region, and containment was restored. Yeah, it's interesting actually, if you have a Foundation base in the middle of a war zone. That does create quite the containment risk, doesn't it? SCP 703 and 643 unexpectedly manifest 643 unexpectedly manifest within 703 while the former is being transferred to a more secure containment chamber. Several attending researchers and agents are affected. However, proper olfactory protocols were observed by Site-77 security, ensured minimal losses during this breach. 703 reclassified to Euclid. 039, here we are. Well, we've not even read what 039 is just yet. I'm wondering if maybe now is the time to actually go back to 039 and actually learn what it is first. 039 consists of 23 proboscis monkeys, Nasalis lavatus, which have been subject to radical anatomical changes. These alterations are summarised below. Eyes have been removed, new bone growth has filled eye sockets, no remnants of eyelids or eyebrows remain, only smooth skin. Extreme alterations to the mouth. Oral opening is no longer present. No remnants of lips remain, only smooth skin. Jawbone has been fused and placed by new bone growth along the joints. Teeth, tongue, gums and palate are absent, having been replaced by a large deposit of adipose tissue. Removal of digestive system. Esophagus, stomach, gallbladder, intestines and bladder have all been replaced with adipose tissue formations of similar shape and volume. Anal orifice has been sealed by new skin growth, leaving no remnants of the anus. It is not clear how SCP-039 instances obtain nutrition and dispose of waste, or survive without doing so. Enhancements of auditory, tactile and olfactory senses, both absolute and difference thresholds, are significantly lower than those of the baseline species. These enhancements allow 039 to effectively navigate their environment despite lack of sight. Instances have been observed tapping on objects when navigating unfamiliar surroundings. This behaviour has been theorised to be a form of rudimentary echolocation, but this is yet to be proven. Intelligence enhancements. 039 score consistently higher on all provided cognitive tests than their non-anomalous equivalents. Sip of tea. 039 are capable of reproduction. At time of writing, 5 instances of 039 have been born since containment. 039 show a very close bond among their species, with newborns often being cared for by all capable adults. New instances are born with the same anatomic anomalies as their parents. Despite this, testing has not identified any genetic divergence from baseline species in SCP-039 instances. 039 communicate via touch and a complex series of nasal vocalizations, many of which have not been observed in non-anomalous Nasalis lavatus. Original instances also possess a rudimentary understanding of spoken English. This knowledge is not passed on to newborns, but they do naturally learn some English from exposure to Foundation personnel. Instances of 039 have demonstrated the ability to operate mechanical tools and to perform various complex tasks primarily related to automobile construction and maintenance. This knowledge does not appear to be innate, as newborn instances do not possess it. Okay, so they're basically a bunch of proboscis monkeys with weird anatomy. They shouldn't be alive, but somehow they are, and they're much more intelligent than regular proboscis monkeys. Addendum SCP-039-1 Recovery Log. 039 were recovered in 1998 when Foundation forces raided a Prometheus Labs facility approximately 25 km north-northwest of Blank, Nevada. The facility was found to have been abandoned an unknown amount of time prior to Prometheus Labs' collapse. Recovered objects of note included 2 automobiles abandoned in the parking lot outside, a third automobile partially disassembled in a cargo bay, an assortment of power tools, spare parts, paint and other auto maintenance implements, an assortment of veterinary anaesthetics, surgical implements and data expunged, located in an operating room, 20 small cages, presumably for the purpose of containing 039, all cages were empty and partially dismantled with the doors removed, 2 large cages, likewise empty and dismantled, containing chimpanzee hair and feces, the frozen remains of a dissected 039 instance, which lacked a nose or nasal passages, in addition to the typical anomalies, the remains of 3 adult males, identified via dental analysis as Alan Blank, Damien Blank and Cole Blank. All 3 individuals have been killed by severe blunt trauma, and remains bore pre- and post-mortem bite marks corresponding to chimpanzee dentition. The personal journal of Cole Blank, see Addendum 2, 18 instances of 039 and 039A. I'm guessing the monkeys basically rebelled, did they? Is that basically what happened here? They rebelled against their creators, because their creators were probably mistreating them, because it says 20 small cages, so they probably were being effectively kept as slaves to work on, automobiles by the sound of it. Addendum 0392, Personal Journal of Cole Blank. Some entries appear to notate the early prototyping stages of 039's development. These entries are reproduced below, with portions irrelevant to 039 excised for brevity. Open document 039. It's probably unnecessary since Damien's keeping track of all the sciencey stuff, but I need something to do. I'm going to give him a voice. He's recovered from Nevada, so I'll give an American accent, but I need something to do. Dear diary, I should have brought my books to read. No scientific notes were recovered from the facility. Well, we got the monkeys today. Not the monkeys we wanted, mind you. These are freaking proboscis monkeys. That's that Werner guy, what he was thinking when he got these things, and he just shrugged. Said we didn't specify what kind of monkey we wanted. What kind of weirdo hears monkeys and thinks, yeah, I'll get the fat ones with big noses? We wanted rhesus macaques, just like literally every other research facility on the planet. Now we have to refit everything for 20 monkeys that are twice as big as we expected, or else stick them in cages that are too small. I wonder how he got these things, but I'm kind of afraid to ask. Dude says he's an actor, but I never heard of him. Maybe he's in German movies or something with a name like that. Imagine having exotic animals smuggling as your side job. What a weirdo. Including the deceased instance, only 19 instances of 039 were recovered from the facility. The whereabouts of the missing 20th instance are unknown, but that's been scratched out. In 1999, the 20th instance was discovered in SCP-1328, living in an otherwise abandoned house belonging to the Red Actors Troupe. Okay, we got some real cross-links in this one. Part of me is thinking maybe I should have to look at some of these. Like, we've got Prometheus Labs, there was a link to that. There's Red Actors Troupe, whatever that is. SCP-1328. Okay, we'll continue on with this for now. The monkeys are doing fine, passing all the tests way better than they did when they could see. Damien says it's probably because they can remember it better, but I still think at least some of it has to do with not being distracted. I know I think better with my eyes closed. Took the nose off one of the monkeys today to see what would happen. I just figured it would suffocate, but it didn't. Guess it gets its air from the same places as food now. Makes me wonder just how much we could take out. If it's not breathing, does it really need a heart? That's about the only internal organ that's got left at this point. Pulling the heart won't improve the intelligence any though, so there'd be no point. Just curious. Okay, so it seems that they are already anomalous before they started surgically removing some of their organs, I'm guessing. The one with no nose isn't moving anymore. We thought he was dead at first till we checked for a pulse. Poor guy must be depressed. I'd be pretty unhappy too, I guess, if I couldn't see or talk to any of my friends but I could still hear them around me. If he doesn't shape up soon, we'll have to dissect him, see if we can figure out what happened. We're going to leave the noses on the rest of them so this doesn't happen again. Call Werner, order some chimps. I made sure he knew exactly what animal I was talking about so he won't show up with a fucking baboon or something. Dissected the noseless one today. Couldn't find anything obviously weird. Brain was still intact and everything. Oh well. Damien said that the problem might be specific to this species since the nose is so important to their social structure. I don't know about that since I figure that the eyes and mouth are pretty damn important too, but we won't know for sure until we try it on a different species. Werner brought us 2 chimps, both males. They're bigger than I expected. Now that we're done with the monkeys, we're handing them over to Alan. He's going to try to teach them some tricks to impress potential donors. Alan says the monkeys are learning quick. I question the wisdom of teaching monkeys to use power tools, but Alan says they don't seem interested in getting up to mischief, monkey business, anymore. Must be the procedure. Decide to start with the nose instead this time to see if that monkey really freaked out because it couldn't communicate or because sanity is somehow dependent on the nose or some shit. Probably should have tested that on the monkeys, but we were too busy trying to get out of feeding them to be properly scientific about it. I wish our grant request hadn't been denied, then we'd have enough money for some trial and error, and we wouldn't have to rely on some actor for our test subjects. I don't like the chimps. The monkeys were alright because they're so funny looking, but the chimps are a little too much like hairy people for me. Feels like they're actually seeing me when they look, if that makes any sense. Doesn't help that I know they're smarter now. I don't think they like me either. Can't wait till we take their eyes tomorrow. In other news, Alan actually got the monkeys to change the tyres on his car. They look funny doing it, like a furry little pit crew. These must be the smartest monkeys on the planet by now, and Alan says they're still learning. The monkeys are basically geniuses at this point. Alan had them wax his car, do an oil change, and some other car stuff that I don't understand. Hopefully that'll convince the guys upstairs to reconsider our grant, maybe give us what we need to move on to human experimentation. If that doesn't work, we might at least be able to sell these monkeys to MC&D or somebody as a cheaper, cuter alternative to real auto mechanics. Well, the chimps tried to fucking bite me today. Not going back in there until we take those mouths. Those bastards can starve for all I care. Damien can handle it. He still doesn't want to take the mouths yet, since those are their last facial features, and he's afraid the same thing that happened to the monkey without a nose will happen to them. Got a call from Werner today. Said he had one more rate for us. I asked him what he was talking about, but he just laughed. Said he'd be here tomorrow and hung up. Doesn't he know we're already struggling? We don't have space for another damn monkey, much less food. Further information regarding SCP-039A is restricted to personnel level 3 and higher. Addendum 0393, information pertaining to 039A, input level 3 clearance. Special containment procedures. Oh, this has its own containment procedures, this does. 039A is held in a standard human containment chamber, adjusted to accommodate its blindness. It is an adult human male named Jacob Blank. Well, they did say they were looking to transfer to human testing, so maybe that's what this was. They're looking to create weird sort of, I don't know, like drone workers? Is that what they're trying to create? And the monkeys were basically just an initial test array before they eventually would move on to humans. I'm guessing that's what it is. By the same process that created 039, 039A's eyes, nose, mouth and associated organ systems have all been removed. It has experienced similar enhancements to its intelligence and remaining senses, as well as other psychological alterations. The following excerpts from Cole Blank's journal relate to 039A. It's a human. The ape Werner was talking about is a fucking person, a guy named Jake. Some crackhead he scraped up off the street, probably just promised him a bunch of drugs to lure him into that creepy red van Werner drives and then dumped him on us. I know our eventual goal here is to boost human intelligence, but we're not ready for human experimentation at this stage. Damien disagrees, says this is a big opportunity. If we can pull off a successful human prototype, then we're bound to get our grant approved, right? He's right, but that doesn't change the fact that this is a whole new level of illegal, not to mention dangerous. Not sure I want to do it just yet, not without approval from upstairs. Fucking Damien. Last night that asshole went behind my back and operated on Jake, took his whole damn face off all at once. Jake's lucky he didn't drop dead right there from the shock. He still hasn't woken up yet, so it might still happen. I told Damon I'll feed him to the fucking chimps if he does this again. I'm not prepared to dispose of a body. Shouldn't be hard to get out here in the middle of this damn desert, but still. Jake woke up today, already moving around and everything. It's kind of creepy how fast he recovered, and how calm he is about the whole thing. I guess he knew what he signed up for, but you think a guy would be at least a little weirded out when he wakes up without a face. Here's something weird. Jake says he isn't craving drugs anymore. He still had some on him when he got here, crack or meth, I don't know what, but he still wants us to get rid of it. According to him, he'd normally be wanting a fix right now, but he hasn't felt the urge since the operation. I don't know how taking his face off cured his addiction. It enhances intelligence, yeah, but it shouldn't alter your brain chemistry like that. Damien's as stumped as me. He's been knee-deep in that old-ass bug that gave him this crazy idea in the first place, trying to figure it out. I would have to take a look at it, but I don't speak Latin. Notebooks matching this description were recovered from the facility. Interesting that there's a Latin book involved now. Some kind of ancient work or something. So they're not just creating worker drones, they're creating intelligent life forms. I get it now, okay. Notebooks matching this description were recovered from the facility. Okay, so the book may or may not exist. Jake wanted to see the monkeys today, so despite my better judgment, we took him to Alan. He was training them to build a car engine. They were doing a great job, believe it or not, but they could tell somebody new was in the room. I guess they smelled him. A couple of them came over and he squatted down to pet them. Damien warned him that the monkeys aren't usually very friendly, but they didn't seem to mind. Reached up to touch his face, started snorting a whole lot. Seemed kind of excited, I guess, because they found a human who's like them. The whole thing was really weird. Now he wants to see the chimps, but I said no. We can't afford to let our only human test subject get mauled to death. Damien does think we can probably take the mouths off, though, since Jake didn't go nuts like the monkey. I guess we'll do that tomorrow, unless something weird happens with Jake. Damien doesn't want to do the chimps until after they meet Jake. Says he wants to see if they make any unusual vocalizations. I don't know what he expects to see, but he says that after the way the monkeys acted yesterday, it might be worth checking out. I said it's still too dangerous, but Damien got kind of shitty about it and said the chimps only act aggressive around me because I don't like them. Said I didn't have to come if I didn't want to, so I won't. I hope they throw shit at him. Well, this is creepy. Damien swears that Jake and the chimps actually communicated. They did that same face-touching thing as the monkeys, and then they were hooting and stuff, and he was nodding his head like he understood. Jake says he doesn't know what Damien's talking about, and I'm not sure what to think. It sounds crazy, but then again, so does trusting a guy with no face. I'm starting to think we're in over our heads here. Knew we should have waited for that grant to start human testing. I wish fucking Werner hadn't brought us this guy. Oh, one more thing. Alan was having the monkeys repaint his car, starting to think he just did this as an excuse to get his car souped up for free. One of them snuck off with a couple of tools. Took a while to notice he was gone, but me and Alan tracked the little guy down pretty easily, hanging around outside the chimp pen. Not sure where he left the tools, but we can look for him tomorrow. Okay, did the chimps get out and kill everyone? When MTF Epsilon 6 entered the facility, they discovered O39A living in what was presumably its quarters, sharing living space with several instances of O39. Initial interactions were complicated by O39A's inability to speak, but once communication in writing was established, it willingly entered custody. Okay, Addendum 0394 interviews, re-enter level 3 clearance. The following is an interview. Oh my god, this is huge. Okay, right. Interview of O39A conducted by researcher Leroy Carlson. It communicated its answers by typing on a text-to-speech device. Begin log. Researcher Carlson. Good morning, O39A. O39A waves at Researcher Carlson. I'm Researcher Leroy Carlson. O39A offers Researcher Carlson a handshake, which he accepts. I'd like to ask you a few questions about what happened at the Prometheus Labs facility. O39A nods. First, how do you know Werner Gillespie? Oh, Gillespie. Okay, so related to the director of Site-77 by any chance? That'd be interesting if that's the case. O39A shrugs. He picked me up in Reno, pulled up beside me on the street in a red van, asked me if I wanted to become human. I asked him what the hell he was talking about. He told me there were some guys out in the desert somewhere who could fix me, make it so I never needed food or water ever again, make me smarter too. Sounded too good to be true, like he said, but I figured I didn't have too much to lose. Besides, he had drugs, so I got in that creepy-ass van with him, and he took me out to that place in the desert. Do you know anything else about him? O39A shakes its head. We didn't exactly have a heart-to-heart. Did you say why he was interested in this project? Nope, just said he was helping those guys at the lab find test subjects. Oh, I see. Is there anything else you know about him? He said he was an actor. Oh, and the van had Florida plates. Interesting that that's a... oh, that's linking to SCP-1513. Researcher Carlson, have you had any contact with Gillespie since he brought you to the facility? No. Are you sure? There seem to be some objects missing from the laboratory and 2 chimpanzees. I'm sure. The chimps left on their own after they killed those guys, figured out how to open a door, ran off into the desert, probably died out there since they still needed food and water. Then why didn't you leave the facility? Hey, just because I don't need water doesn't mean I can't have a heat stroke. Didn't need to worry about finding food or anything, so I decided to stick around. I figured somebody would find me eventually. Too bad it was you guys. Do you know anything about any books or research notes that the scientists who operated on you may have had? SCP-039A shakes its head. No, like I said, I was just a test subject. Interesting. While we're on the subject, how exactly did the chimpanzees escape their cages? SCP-039A shrugs. Beats me. Cole probably forgot to lock the cages or something. Even smart people make mistakes, I suppose. No, he's lying. I'm requesting the use of enhanced chemical interrogation techniques, Researcher Carlson. Yeah, I have a feeling that the monkeys took power tools to the chimps. That's what's going to probably happen here. You don't believe me, do you? I'll ask the questions, thanks. Will you? Or are you just going to sit there and write? I'll write as long as I want. Fine then, take your time. It's not like I have anywhere else to be anyway. You're just going to put me back in my cell when we're done, right? Right. SCP-039A removes its hands from the keyboard and leans back with them behind its head. Researcher Carlson finishes writing. Okay, SCP-039A, just one more question. You really enjoy calling me that, don't you? Makes it easier to forget I'm a person. Are you able to communicate with the monkeys? Oh god, that's SCP-978 Extended Test Log 039. Holy shit, there's a lot of crosslinks in this one. I don't think we're going to be able to read all of these, because I want to get at least one more SCP in this episode, but we'll see. We'll finish off Site-77 in a moment, but yeah. 039A says, what? The journal we recovered indicates that you may have been able to communicate with them and the altered chimpanzees in some way. That must be Cole's journal. You know he's an idiot, right? Not to mention a dick. He didn't like me or the chimps. Are you saying that you can't communicate with other SCP-039 instances? I mean, can you communicate with your dog? They're smart animals. Yes, but I can talk to my dog and he can see me. You and the monkeys can't do either of those things. SCP-039A hesitates. I'd like to go back to my cell now. 039A crosses its arms. This interview is not over. 039A does not respond. You're not going to cooperate, are you? 039A shakes its head. Fine. But this isn't over. End log. Researcher Carlson's request for chemical interrogation is pending Ethics Committee approval, as 039A's altered physiology, metabolism and psychology makes the effects of amnestics and similar drugs on it difficult to predict. Below is the transcript of Researcher Carlson's second interview with 039A, conducted the following day. Begin log. Hello again, 039A. 039A does not respond. I'd like to ask you some questions about the procedure that removed your face. 039A nods, slowly. First, how was it performed? What do you mean? Was it a surgical operation? A Thorma magical ritual? Were you genetically modified? 039A shrugs. They didn't tell me the specifics and I was out during the operation. You didn't ask? 039A shakes head. It's not like I would have understood the science anyway. They just told me it would make me smarter and I wouldn't have to eat anymore, and that I'd go blind but my hearing will get better so it won't be so bad. And you agreed to this? SCP-039A nods. You would have too. That's going back to that SCP-978 extended test log, that link. What makes you say that? 039A thinks briefly. Rough estimate. How much money do you spend on food every month? Groceries, restaurants, everything. A couple of $100? It varies. Now, imagine that you still had those $100 every month. It's more than $1,000 a year. What would you buy with that? Something that you want but don't have right now because of your budget. Well, I've been saving up for some Metallica tickets. Cool. So just think, if you didn't have to eat, you get to see Metallica. Well, yeah, but I like eating. Do you? Or is it just that your biological need to eat tricking your brain? Or is that just your biological need to eat tricking your brain into enjoying something it doesn't really have a choice about? Of course I like eating. I mean, maybe not always. When I go to a fancy restaurant or something I do. Okay, fine. Let me put it like this. You want to lose some weight, right? What? Researcher Carlson looks down at his body. Just guessing. Most of you people do. Was people? People can afford to eat. Before I got my face off, I only got to eat if I went to a homeless shelter or fished something out of the trash. But you have the opposite problem, don't you? Eating too much. Well, I suppose so. Now, imagine if you never had to worry about that. If you didn't have to try and fail to exercise self-control when you reach for one more piece of cake or one more deep-fried whatever. Because you can't eat, but that doesn't bother you because you don't want to anyway. Pretty soon after your operation, your body will naturally reach a healthy weight, but you can still build muscle. Heck, I was skinny as a post before I got rid of my face. Now look at me. I think I'll stick with my diet. How about this then? How much time do you spend eating every day? Look, I just want to know more about the procedure. This isn't necessary. You wanted to know why I volunteered, didn't you? I'm trying to explain it to you. Or do you not really want to know? Fine, carry on. So how much time do you spend eating? I don't know, maybe an hour total? And how much time do you spend cooking, shopping for food, driving back and forth to the place where you shop, bringing the groceries, putting them away? Or when you go to a restaurant, how much time do you waste deciding where to go, driving out there, waiting for your table, waiting to order, waiting for the food, waiting for the check? Then, after you eat, how much time do you spend shitting every day? How much of your life is wasted sitting on a toilet, wiping your own ass, smelling your own shit like an animal? Do you have any idea how much of your short life is wasted fulfilling base biological needs? How much of the stuff you want to do with your life never gets done because you're too busy doing what you have to? I understand that, but I like my face where it is. SCP-039A shakes its head slowly. Well, maybe if you were in the shoes that I was in, you'd think differently. From where I was, a face was a small price to pay. I don't guess it matters now, though, since I'm in a box. I'm sorry about that, but surely you can understand the kind of uproar that a man with no face would cause if we just let you wander around in public. 039A hesitates for several seconds, fingers hovering above the keyboard. Did you have any other questions? Well, we're wondering if you've experienced any other psychological changes. The monkeys show much higher cognitive performance than unaltered ones. I want to know if you've experienced anything similar. Definitely. It's a little more complicated than just being smarter, though. How so? Well, it's all about attention. I can hear better now, what with the SCP-039 gestures at the upper half of its face. But I also listen better, if that makes any sense, because I'm not distracted anymore. I never realised it before, and you probably don't either. I'm not sure anybody can if they still have a face, but people are always distracted, thinking about 1,000 different things, worrying about your job, or lack of one in my case, trying to figure out what you're going to have for dinner, where you're going to sleep, how you're going to get your next fix, whatever that is for you. But I don't have to deal with all that anymore, so I can pay attention, really pay attention, when I'm listening, and I remember all of it. And when I'm thinking, trying to solve a math problem or something, I can concentrate, really concentrate. It's like the difference between being sober and being drunk. Speaking of which, the documents we found indicate that you were addicted to drugs before the operation. I was a crackhead before they took my face off, but I haven't craved it even a little bit since the operation. Didn't even withdraw. That's interesting to you, I imagine. Yes, it is. Do you know why this is the case? Not scientifically. Seems like Damien and the other guys didn't expect that, but I do know... 039A pauses briefly. Intrinsically? Spiritually? I can feel it, if that makes any sense. Can you explain this feeling? It's simple, really. It's like what I was talking about with the food. Now that my face is gone, and a whole bunch of my organs too, I don't know which ones exactly, but most of them, I'm cut off from that. From what? Urges, base instincts, the monkey brain. Before, my body craved things: food, water, sex, drugs, booze. I could barely think, really think the way I do now, but not anymore. When they removed my face, they removed the monkey. Now it's just me in here. 039A taps his forehead. Just a rational human being in complete control of himself. Interesting. Okay, so that is quite an interesting log to read, because it starts making me think about what was the inspiration for this SCP, potentially. And so I'm thinking, did the person who wrote this, was their idea something like, what would a human being, well, so obviously there's a bit of a sort of dichotomy in human nature between the rational and the irrational, sort of, you know, thinking in that very coldly rational way, where you focus on sort of cost-benefit calculations, what benefits you, what the cost of doing certain things is, versus the irrational, slightly more emotional side of your nature, i.e., you know, sometimes doing things that are not entirely rational because actually you've got an emotional driver or impulse that drives you to do certain things. For example, you know, the emotional impulse based on anger that makes you punch a guy who's 10 times bigger than you because he insulted your wife or whatever, or, you know, the emotional impulse to try and, I don't know, pursue a relationship with someone despite the fact that you can see their, you know, from a rational perspective that getting with them would be a bad idea because actually their behaviour is really shitty, but you still, you know, try and get with them anyway because on an irrational level you have sex drive or whatever and you find them attractive, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So I guess it's kind of like maybe this author was inspired by this idea of what would it be like if you took a human being and removed all of the irrational, and so how would you go about doing that? I don't know, does that make sense to people? At least that's how I'm kind of interpreting it, in essence. But yes, it was 039, it was quite a big one, that was. But let's just quickly go back to Site-77 and read this containment breach thing for 039. During a regular security patrol, several instances of 039 were noted to be moving through containment unsupervised. Further investigation showed that 039 had used tools obtained from within the walls to disable and remove the security door to its containment chamber. During recontainment operations, a mercenary militia began assaulting the containment wing of Site-77. During the defensive operations, 039 continued roaming unsupervised and is known to have breached at least one SCP object, 1957, which resulted in the creation of 1837 after 1957 came into contact with E4250, an unknown anomaly possessed by the group. Post-breach investigations showed that the tools had been left behind and lost during renovations several years previously. Security protocols for animistic containment chambers were made more strict following this incident, as well as construction protocols. Okay, so there's all kinds of links here to other organisations, Prometheus Labs, the Red Troop, whatever it was called, now a mercenary militia. There's links to other SCPs. God, you see, this is why I probably should do the cross-links, but I'm not going to do it in this episode because otherwise it'll be huge. Okay, well, we'll just quickly read the remaining information for Site-77. Containment incident SCP-512. During outdoor testing of 512, D-512-33 was able to enact control flight and escape by flying over the walls. Mobile Task Force Site-7 deployed several helicopters to pursue them. Before being recaptured, 512-33 was struck by a bolt of lightning and perished. After recovery, all outdoor testing at Site-77 was discontinued. SCP-213, while sleeping, the destructive aspect of 213 anomaly the 213 anomaly manifested uncontrollably for approximately 30 seconds, causing the subject to fall through multiple sub-basements before being recovered. No casualties due to the breach, although the cost of damages amounted to €1.2 million. Analysis of this incident spurred the research which led to the source, SCP-213 anomaly, being discovered and the current containment procedures being enacted. SCP-2322, an unknown door, was noted to appear overnight within the Director's Complex. When investigated, its anomalous properties were revealed. Renovations and alterations to the complex have been made to ensure the secure containment of SCP-2322, believed to be connected to E8812, a humanoid anomaly with reality-bending abilities related to electronic and radio waves. Okay. Additional information: the earliest archaeological records of Site-77 indicate that it was a religious or cultural gathering point for rural villages in southern Italy. Its specific purpose is not known, as any primary sources have been lost or destroyed over time. Relics and artefacts from this time period have been rare, and those discovered not particularly fruitful. For many years during the 18th and 19th centuries, the facilities that would one day evolve into Site-77 were primarily used for mining coal. Once that ran dry, it was abandoned and became severely run down. When the fascist regime came to power in the 1920s, the ruins of the facility were seized by the government and put to use as part of their rearmament campaign, producing military-grade firearms and equipment. In 1942, the facilities that would become Site-77 were requested for usage by the Germans as a research base. Stationing reserve troops, the military presence there was one of the largest in the region. In addition, large quantities of munitions and weapons were stored there. During this time, Italian and German scientists were using the area for geological research, as well as a small contingent of Nazi Party representatives studying occultism. These researchers operated with only tepid support from their governments and begrudging tolerance of the soldiers stationed there. Top-secret Wunderwaffe research began in late 1943, but ceased once the Italian government had surrendered. Once it fell into their hands, the Allies took little effort to fortify or reinforce the large base, but did use portions of it as a hospital as they continued to press towards the north. Large portions of the surface were destroyed by SCP-1591 after Axis bombing reduced its containment facilities to rubble. In 1945, with the war nearly over, the facility was repurposed as a railway depot to be used by American business interests. It was operated by the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development to ship Marshall Plan supplies into Europe. In the waning days of the project, one of their agents, Shirley Gillespie, made the Foundation a deal. She'd funneled them large sums of money in exchange for protection from American agents in a senior position. The Foundation was therefore able to refit their new facility with the newest technology and enhancements. Due to the large concentration of anomalous objects at this location, Site-77 has experienced an above-average number of containment breaches. However, the number of major containment incidents is on par with other Foundation facilities. Site-77 is the highest volume containment site currently held by the Foundation. Its current mission is holding anomalous phenomena, researching their effects and maintaining normalcy/security in the region. Footnotes: 1. Anomaly is not given SCP designation. 2. Miracle weapons. Okay, that's Site-77. So, yeah, that was a worthy digression just to tell us about, something connected to 039. And, we've also now learned about what is basically one of the biggest sites used for containment by the Foundation. It's located in Italy, apparently. Okay, well, we'll get rid of that. And we'll do, I think, one more SCP in this particular session. SCP-040, Evolution's Child. So yeah, I know there were a lot of cross-links in that 039 article, but we're not going to do them because otherwise this video would end up being massive. 040, Object Class Anomalous Human, Containment Class Active, Hazard Rating Yellow. This is immediately different. This is Standard Containment Policies, 2-person residential module, no amenity restrictions, access to site library, recreational facilities, cafeteria and public areas supervised, dietary restriction, mild peanut allergy, youth educational curriculum enrolment, Drs. Abernathy, Logan and Izawa, bi-weekly psychological review, Dr. Abernathy, Schedule B experimentation plan, special containment procedures. SCP-040, 1A, 1C and 1J have been approved to remain in the containment chamber with SCP-040 for purposes of the subject's mental well-being. Security Chief, Special Order 392-5, blank date. All the entities modified by 040 during testing are to be disposed of after study according to standard biological specimen clearance protocols as outlined in document CDP Bio EN1. Description: SCP-040 is a human child capable of at-will manipulation of the physical characteristics of living organisms. Modified organisms are collectively referred to as SCP-040-1. There's actually physical descriptions here. DOB, date of birth, circa 2000, subject claimed to be 8 years old. That probably means date of containment, DOC. POB, unknown, that's point of birth I would guess. Date of containment, blank blank 2008, height 111 centimetres, weight 20.7 kilograms, hair is bright pink apparently. Uh-oh, they're an anime protagonist, oh shit. They have green eyes, but, they have heterochromia. Okay, so right eye's green, left eye's yellow, black sclera on the left. Other notes: blind in left eye, skin sensitive to birds and easily bruised, hair is brittle and falls out easily. Modifications are primarily cosmetic, ranging from simple colour and pattern changes to more involved shifts in bodily form and structure. The creation of new specialised organs is possible, but appears to be the limit of SCP-040's ability and currently has a 66% failure rate in testing. Modifications are limited to what would be physically possible, regardless of the probability of such a feature naturally arising. For example, while 040 can grant an organism wings that does not naturally possess them, they will not permit the creature to fly without meeting other physical requirements. O40-1 undergo behaviour shifts as part of the modification process, acting with extreme loyalty to O40, regardless of prior association. O40's anomalous property requires significant focus and time to enact, and causes intense headaches and nausea when performed for more than a few minutes at a time. The effect becomes increasingly unreliable and inaccurate the smaller the modifications or more complex the changes are. O40 is capable of altering microscopic organisms, has great difficulty in altering plant life. Dead organic matter may also be used, but must be used in conjunction with a living organism. Instances of O41 cannot be modified more than once, though it is currently unknown if this is a hard limit of O40's properties or from a lack of mastery over them. I need to drink up my tea because it's going cold. O40's emotional state is within acceptable boundaries for an individual of its age group, accounting for the effects of prolonged containment and parental separation. Separation technically spelled wrong there, but whatever. Just point out the typo. That should be separation, not separation. Subject's intelligence is slightly above average for its age group. Behaviour is generally cooperative. Sorry if you just heard me knocking my microphone a moment ago. O40 acclimatised quickly to containment and responded well to the initial orientation and socialisation programmes. O40 responds to the name 40 and does not appear to have any other given or chosen personal name. Recovery summary. Subject was taken into custody on 2008. Well, don't know the exact date. As part of the raid on the Keys to the Kingdom Christian Carter School for Gifted Youth in Redacted, Colorado. The raid's primary objective being the capture or execution of Blank, a former CIA operative who previously worked alongside Foundation intermediaries as part of Project Black Book, Project Smilodon and Operation Stargate from 1967 to 71, was successful. Blank was terminated on site and disposed of without incident. Of the 15 children recovered from the facility, O40 was the only one to demonstrate anomalous properties. The others were administered amnestics and placed in Foundation observed foster care. I need to drink more tea. The amount of reading I've been doing so far is making my throat pack in. Interviews with staff at the school revealed that they were unaware of Blank's prior history or any connection with Foundation operations. They were administered amnestics and put under a 6-month communications monitor. No relapses were recorded. See Operation Tatzelwurm After Action Report for complete event record. Addendum 01, O40 is currently allowed custody of the following O41 instances. The O41A, symbiotic organism capable of changing size, shape, colour and texture in reaction to its environment. Subject serves as outer clothing, similar to a jacket or sweater, and absorbs nutrients from O40's bloodstream. Subject was recovered alongside O40, and genetic testing reveals that the subject shares the majority of its genetic makeup with the common house cat, Felis catus. O41C, spherical organism capable of flight by means of rubbery bladders filled with lighter-than-air gas mixture. Entity has 11 limbs terminating in opposable digits and a complex respiratory system capable of replicating a wide variety of musical patterns. O41J, quadrupedal organism covered in a thick coat of pink and blue fur. Entity has no eyes, a broad mouth with blunt teeth, and is capable of climbing up vertical surfaces, occasionally used by O40 as a means of transport. Addendum 02. The following interview excerpt is dated blank 2008, shortly after O40's initial containment and orientation sessions. Dr. Abernathy. Good morning, 40. Good morning, Miss Dr. Abernathy is a woman. Well, I'm going to stick with that posh male voice. Why not? Good morning, Miss Abernathy. Sounds like you're getting over your cold. I'm glad. Can I ask you a few questions before we start with today's lesson? Yeah. Can you tell me about your parents? Mr. Green said that I don't have any. Can you tell me about Mr. Green then? He was nice, but he wasn't very good at talking. He would always talk like this, but he wasn't there a lot of the time. Most of the time it was the nurses looking after us. And what did they do for you? They play games with us and teach us things, and sometimes they would make us wear these dumb helmets and sit quiet for a long time. Sometimes they put a movie on for us if we behaved. If we were bad, they would lock us in our rooms. Can you tell me anything else? Sorry, I just knocked my microphone again. They always served us peas for dinner, and I hate peas, so I gave mine to 5 because she liked peas, but I think green beans are better. Addendum 03, sometime in 2009, O40 successfully reanimated a deceased human body during testing, using 3 specimens of brown rat, Rattus norvegicus, I can't even say that. My brain just won't allow me to, as required living component. Resultant subject retained no memories of previous life and was judged to be of the approximate mental capacity of a human toddler. 040 was highly distressed by the event and refused further testing for the next 3 weeks. Footnotes: investigation during Operation Tatzelworm confirmed that Blank had been operating under the name Henry Green since at least 1982. Okay, so a child who can manipulate physical characteristics of living organisms. Okay, so I guess that's why it's not even just classed by, the usual safe Euclid-Keter classification system, because this one doesn't necessarily represent any threat, but in theory, I assume it could represent a threat. So I assume this child is aging as normal as the years go by. That's curious. What an interesting one to end up this episode on. But yeah, well, there you go. That was another episode of Reading SCPs with me, just me this time. But yeah, like I say, later today, I'm hoping to have a recording session with Phil and Connor. We might do a few more SCP stuff, basically, ladies and gents. So, you potentially got that to look forward to. If not, then I'll probably do more on my own. So yeah, we had a big digression with Site-77 there, which is interesting. So yeah, I may occasionally take some of the cross-links elsewhere, depending on what they are, but we'll see. It depends how I feel during a recording session and all that. I know there were tons of cross-links in 039's article, but to be honest with you, that would, that would end up in the episode being massive if I followed all of those. So, you probably understand why I didn't. But, we may take other cross-links in future and all that. So I hope you'll join me for some more SCP sometime very, very soon, ladies and gents. And we'll continue on, of course. We're up to, we've got up to and done 40. So we're getting towards 50. We are getting towards some interesting ones that I feel like I do have memories of, like the Plague Doctor at 049, one of the famous ones. As well as that, I think I remember this one, the Molecular Fission Cannon. I feel like I might have read that one before, but we'll see. Okay, well, in that case then, my social media links, propagandist channel link, as usual, are all in the video description for anyone interested. If you enjoyed, a like is, of course, always appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody. Maybe not. Maybe we are the bad guy here who's taking his property. It's like it's my key. It's my freaking door keys, ladies and gents. It's my car keys. What the hell are you doing? Slender man. Probably has a nice little slender car, which he hops into and drives down to a slender workplace. And then after he's done a bit to slender work, he probably gets back into a slender car, goes back to slender car. I've just done a fucking circle, haven't I? Check, no, bitch. Don't try it. So he gets back to slender home, cooks a slender meal. Maybe he has slender chips and sausage. Maybe he orders a slender takeaway. Oh god, this is too big an open this. I'm on my way to the centre by the looks of it.